Adopt a village kind of mentality. How far, if we raised $500,
What is it? Yeah, what does that mean?
Or adopt a week or a month or whatever that money goes to. You have to break it down because those numbers are just overwhelming.
Yeah,
I think it's just
You're going to gloss over
and all
it.
the different
not-
medical things. It's
like
just
too
Yeah,
much.
and not
I
just
can't
breaking
make a
it down
difference
though.
there.
You have to be able to say what that money's going to go for,
Right,
because there's so many other things that are out there that someone said, "Well, I'm going to donate $5,000. What am I going to donate it to?"
Right.
Because you have to explain what are you going to use that money for and break it down. Like so, what he was saying, giving us a list of if you have $100, this is exactly what we're going to do with it. That helps because then you can see, oh, I'm helping. I'm helping 50 people get these medical supplies.
And that does go a long way over there. I mean, there's the small amount can make a big difference. From
the fact that he
the cost
said,
for feeding somebody for a day.
What he said, $218,000 will last them for 6 months, and they can treat 13,000 people a day. I mean, those are
a lot.
huge.
It was 13,000. I had 1,000.
I think it was 1,000.
I had
Oh, maybe it was
280
1,300.
I had 280,000 for 6 months, and it was 1,000 people seen a day.
Maybe it's okay.
Right.
1,000.
But that's
Right, so
but the
it's
250,
5,000,
a quarter of a million.
7,000 a week.
That's a lot of money.
Right, 28,000 a month or whatever it is.
So you get it down into the thousands, then you're talking about something that's a lot more doable and achievable for smaller organizations. I mean, we all belong to different churches and community groups and networking groups, and if you can take an idea back to a group and a cause back and be the advocate and the ambassador and the cheerleader for that cause, and even if it's $500 or $1,000 to raise over the course of a couple of weeks and bake sales or whatever, you go to do that, but it's got to get down to that smaller level.
Sounds like, my math isn't that great, but roughly like $1 would treat one person. If it's if it was 28,000 a month, 24,000 a month, and 1,000 people a day.
280,000 over 6
6 months.
The first thing that comes to mind for me is I think of like what Whole Foods
Yeah, if you roll it up, you round it up
where
to
they
3,000,
take
300,000 for
a
6
month.
months.
They
You're talking
sponsor
about, 15.
a group.
$1.50 a day.
For a while, it was the group that the micro.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
You
so-
can convince a local retailer to go for a month and donate 5% of their.
And then the people, I think, but the volume of people that come through a place like Whole Foods Market every day, and they have this, donate program where when you bring your own bags in, you have the choice to take your 10 cents back or donate it. And if you think just about all the people that come through every day, if Whole Foods would get behind that and, give people the option to donate their bag or $1 every time they shop. And then you could go to all the local markets. You could get in with Starbucks and see if Starbucks, there's so many companies that I think have such a public image that given the opportunity would be willing to, give something back or allow you to give the people that come in an opportunity. It's so simple, 10 cents every time you buy a cup of coffee, or I don't know.
I think from our standpoint, I think going for a locally based company here rather than some of the bigger corporate, because that's the getting through that maze of bureaucracy. But if you can find a smaller local company to help do
Well,
that.
at least fortunately in the case of Whole Foods, they might be legitimate because they're local. They have a lot of autonomy as to where they direct their nonprofit resources.
They're not local here, though.
But I know them well enough.
Stores have
Because I've been talking to them to give them the support that they did to us. Is that I realized, this is what Anita's saying, is that they're just an example, though. I mean, you'd be surprised as to how many have autonomy to say, okay, for this month, and I like the idea, your idea to break it down. Right, for this month, for this week, just 10 cents a bag, and we generate $1,000.
Yeah.
And that's funds, a day's worth of medicine for this camp. That's one way to go after it, or a direct web donation type of thing, or a local organization. But the idea would be to maybe break it. I like the chunking methodology because that gives you multiple outlets to do it, either online, through local organizations, through even talking to a place like Whole Foods or New Seasons or Stumptown or any sort of local merchant that's willing to say, break it down, 10 cents, 25 cents.
The big thing these days, it seems like more and more people are doing is the whole roundup
Right.
thing. Do you want to round up for, if your coffee's $3.75, do you want to
Yes.
round up to $4?
Right.
Work though? I mean, I
don't know.
haven't seen any
It's so
real
new.
numbers on that.
I don't know.
They have it at the grocery store, but I don't know how much
Maybe
they
to
actually
find out. Yeah.
make. Yeah, and I think you need to look at those kind of programs and the dollars and time frame that it generates those dollars versus going right directly to people and asking people, say, if you get 10,000 people to donate $1, you may be able to do that faster than going with a 10-cent roundup on a bag of groceries, which could take you longer because
Yeah.
people are like, you're not in that frame of mind, and they don't even know the story. They don't know the backstory.
I think that's the biggest challenge with this group
Connecting,
is that the work that they do is so like people don't understand it, and we talk about being 99% efficient with their financial spend. I think people are, well, what does that really mean? And it's like, how do you humanize what they're doing? And I think that is the critical thing that this organization
For
needs to
direct
help
relief.
You
with.
have to
right, for
convince
direct
them.
relief.
We have to convince them to get the stories out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, stories.
Stories,
and a
yeah.
consistent flow of them. And I don't know if that means you set up a separate. I think you mentioned something about putting stuff on
they
on the
do.
DRI site, but I'm not sure
They
that's.
do update their website occasionally. I mean, like I've over the years I've donated to Direct Relief, and occasionally I'll get a newsletter, email, and they'll give you updates on whatever fund you've funded. So you can donate into different projects. So you can donate directly to famine relief or Haiti or wherever, and then they'll send you updates on, okay, we just shipped a container to Haiti, and this is what the container
good.
contained.
That's good.
It contained, $500,000 worth of IVs, and they break down what they're doing. But at the same time, they don't include any of the personal stories. It's very tactical,
Creating a strong online presence with current stories and frequently using social media is going to be extremely powerful for them. Especially with videos.
As a donor, if they would have sent me a story about, hey, this is what your money went and helped, and you helped this child, and now this child is doing this, I would send that story probably to my entire network. Because it would have touched me in a way, right? Yeah. And then
I would too.
But I might not send
I'd
that
pass it
newsletter
along
about the shipment of medicine they sent to Haiti, probably, right? And so I think that is, obviously that's a critical piece. So and I think if there's a way to connect that objective with bring the numbers down to something that makes sense for people, so they understand how they can help individually.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of, okay, if, as an individual I can help, but then here's an organization who's going to help collect a bunch of individuals. I think that
I
is.
feel like they can be empowered. That's
So it sounds like they could use some help from on the whole social media side. Is that
Yeah,
true?
I think on the awareness side.
Yeah, it sounds like, I was surprised to hear that they're the second largest?
They're
relief
the
organization?
largest. I think they're the largest relief organization in California.
Wow.
International relief organization in
Yeah,
California.
yeah,
Maybe they're second behind the Red Cross, but
yeah, wow.
I think it's the right personalizing it and publicizing it. P and P. There's got to be the
and the stories.
and reducing it down to, because it's just so enormous. Like, it just kills you when you say 782,000
Well, and people tend to shut down when you say something like that because they're just like, oh, how could I possibly?
Well, it's like I said, it's a slow-moving emergency.
It's a natural disaster that keeps happening
Yeah.
day in and day out.
Change and feeling like they can participate in, because there are a lot of things that are very just happening out here that we're inundated with, that are very disempowering. It's a huge issue right now, and what I've observed is that people respond if they feel like they can participate and on a small consumable scale, like a little bit of like just see what the power of $1 can do, or $5 or even $10. People are responding to those positive stories. They're very powerful. I've noticed
Yeah, and that's why
they get more
concept of
response than the doom and gloom stories.
adopting.
You do need
That's
some of
okay.
the doom and gloom, though.
Yeah,
You
show
need
how
it
extreme it is.
because if you showcase, even if you're going down to the $10 level and you're saying $10 is going to get you this, and here's the outcome too many people will then say, well, look, they're having outcomes, and therefore, why should I donate my $10? Because someone else needs it, because these horrible things are happening over here.
we need a
It's a
magic
balance.
recipe.
It's a balance. I mean, you have to, there's a huge difference in reaction of our group when he first told us about the big numbers, and we're all like, okay, that's mind-boggling. And then he told us a story about the video, which we all need to go watch, of the 8-month-old who is nursing on his dead mother. Like, that's a completely different, like, I was like, oh my God, like, that's what he's talking about. So that's the kind of story that gets someone to say, holy crap, I need to do something about this, but then show the outcome of, and if you do donate $10, then this is what can happen, and then showcase the benefit. So you kind of have to marry the two together, because I don't think people will get what's happening over there.
Yeah, and you got to give them hope.
Yes,
That's one of the things that
give them hope.
the whole Lost Boys story. That's what's so compelling about that story, is that they were saved out of that, strife and just picked up and moved, and now a lot of them are thriving. That's what's so great about that story. It's so compelling. You got to give that hope along with the despair.
Because the numbers,
Exactly.
while really important, people are giving out numbers all over the world. I mean, it's like here, there, it's like, I can't do anything about that. Because it's too big of a problem, and it's like, I can't solve that problem. So showcasing it based on, here's what's happening, this is reality, and this is what $10, whatever the number is, can do, here's the outcome, and that's your story. So that's why we need to get those stories. And it's not just the doctors. I think we need to see it from the doctors' perspectives that are there, but we need to hear like what happens to the mom and the kid when they get the medicine and the food and the water that they need. Like, what happens to them?
But my
such a
question
marketer.
then is, who is going to
Yeah.
follow that situation and give the report back, here in this country, that outcome? That's
be
the part that
organized.
I don't understand. Who's over there that can, they're so overwhelmed as it is. Who is going to be able to provide that information?
Well, he said they already have images, and they already can give us some of that information of outcomes. But what we really need is I don't know what the photographs look like, I don't know what the stories are, but if we have that as a start, we can at least write up some of those stories and make them real. What would be great, though, is to get some, we can't do these kind of interviews, but we could easily find someone who could get us some like video things, send them over there, get some of that, and have them send it back,
Right.
so that we have it.
iPhones.
Yeah, well, whether it's an
Or the-
iPhone or a video cam or something.
those
Let's
kinds
do
of-
it. We'll
Flip cams,
help guide
yeah.
them in helping connect us the stories and build the story together with them.
But then what do you do with it
And
when you have the
creating-
stories?
Yeah, so what do you do with it when
Right.
you have the stories? There's lots of things that we could do. I mean, you can set up one area that looks like it's part of the DRI site, but it's just a little, it's a microsite, and it's just about these stories, so that we can then connect other people to those stories, and it can be updated easier than having to work through DRI and update their site. So it's separate. Can also use it as outreach to the media, because while we can have really loud voices, the media has a louder voice. And what they're looking for is, what is the story and what can people do and what's the outcome? And if we have some of that information, it may spark some media outlets to say, we should talk about this. And it gives them some fodder. Now, a lot of media outlets are not going to take the footage that we send them and use it, but it's something. It's to get them aware again, because the story's lost.
Yeah.
It's a lost
It is
story.
lost, right?
It's
Because
a
there's
lost
too
story.
much. I think he hit the nail on the head. There's always a disaster that drives the attention to something else. Well, there's always another disaster.
Yeah. And then the other thing to do is, an influencer model, and look at all of the bloggers, all the mommy bloggers out there, and say, this is really important, here's why this is important, and, we're sending this information to you. Because if they become interested and they write something in their blog about it, then they're going to be amplifying it to, their thousands and thousands of readers if we target the top,
If you
20
think of-
mommy
and
bloggers.
if you think about who this
That's one
this
strong
epidemic is really affecting most, it's moms and children.
Yeah.
I too I thought the idea of doing the adjunct site to the DRI site, I think is a great idea. Now, who updates that content? You know, that's the question. You probably need some volunteers for that.
And how do you get people to even know that DRI exists, and like, how do you get more people?
I'm not sure it's, DRI as an organization, I'm not looking at it as promoting DRI. I'm looking at it as promoting the story. These are the stories, these are the people that need help, and we need to find people to help them, and DRI is a conduit to get the help to those people.
Now, DRI, they help, they're the facilitator to get the medicine over there.
right.
That's all. That's what they do.
With the
Right, in
99%,
that
that's
sense.
exactly what they do. They take it, they apply it. They take it, they apply it.
No, a result of this, if it works, is that people are going to start recognizing DRI. I mean, I'm not saying you don't say the DRI isn't part of all of what's happening, but rather than focusing on an organization, you focus on the people who are going to get the help.
Right, yeah.
I really like the idea of, targeting the mommy bloggers, and there's so many, mothers out there that have websites on, being a mom and how kind of these support groups for new moms out there. And a lot of these women have a lot of followers on their websites, so it's like how can, like using Twitter, for example, I just think about how it's like this stream, this chain reaction to reach those moms and direct them to DRI's website where, these stories are, and then it could take off from there.
Does DRI have the infrastructure to manage all of that on their website?
No.
I think it would be easier to set up something that is separate but looks like it's part of their site. Nobody would know that it's not part of DRI. But then, to rely on DRI to be involved to update, I don't know if they can handle that. We'd have to figure out how to do it. But
I think they're open right now. I mean, they're looking for solutions, right? And so.
Well, could somebody use their blog as sort of like a storefront that then would have a link, so that individual...
That's kind of what we're talking
Yeah, that individual blog site,
Well, then somebody else would administer it and update it and post to it.
Yeah,
you can do that with a Microsoft.
That's just a way, that's kind of a good give back
maybe
way for
B&J
someone
would
to
do it.
volunteer to do.
Yeah.
Take those stories, post them up there.
It's a simple
Maintain it.
template for a landing page.
Yeah, it's an
really.
interesting.
Everybody has seen this news report with the people who lifted the car off the motorcycle guy, right? That thing has gone completely viral. How does something like that get the kind of news coverage it does? It's like the superhuman effort, right? How do you get a story? How do we get one of these stories? And how do we get the news or whatever the media is or whatever it is to pay attention? I mean, how do you get something to go
You need a
viral?
lifting of the car.
Yeah. I mean,
It's kind of unpredictable.
You can't plan something to be
You need
viral.
the Old Spice guy?
You with the news media. So there's two ways that it works. One is something like that kind of event, or the lifting of the car, and someone captures it and they put it on YouTube and it goes viral, and the news media finds out about it and then they glom onto it, right? Or there's the old route, which is you pitch stories to the media and they pick up on it and they run it, and then people pick up on it, and then it goes viral out in social media. So, but you have to have something so compelling like the lifting of the car to help. You got to have the photo or the video. You got to have it.
There's got to be a trigger somewhere.
Yeah.
And there's no trigger. I mean, if you want to simplify, it, really, right there. That's the sense I got. It's like he's in a
And
some
maybe
sort of
for him, maybe
island there.
I mean, it could be that once we start getting the stories, there will be a trigger because it's not. We don't hear it every single day.
Because he's
For
modest.
him-
We're not talking
Right.
about the good news here. About he's at least reduced his needs to, I think, a manageable level in terms of, at least in that sense. So we're not talking about we need 10 million or 20 million or it's not.
I mean, he's asking for $300,000
for 6 months.
For 6 months.
Right.
So 30,000. I mean, what is it? I'm sorry, I'm not doing my math correctly. 50,000 a month.
Yeah,
Roughly.
roughly.
And so if you can't escalate that, I mean, you're not going to attract everybody, but you don't need to.
Right.
That's true.
If it's $10
That's
at
true.
a time or $20 at a time.
Right.
And so, I think to our point, if you may want to think more targeted mommy bloggers, people that can relate to the mother story, and I think that might be just enough. I mean, you don't
be.
I'm not sure well, it'd be nice if you found something that would get 3 million hits on YouTube.
Yeah.
But I don't think necessarily need if you get one that gets 30,000 or 20,000 because
And
it
you don't
specifically
know
relates
which
to
of those
mommies.
mommy bloggers, is, reading another mommy blogger site that maybe has a friend that works at Gerber Baby Food. I mean, you never know
That one trigger.
where that connection is going to go to, and then someone picks it up, and it's like you have to start somewhere, and sometimes starting small.
Baby food companies.
Yeah.
That's how they monetize their blogging sites.
Yeah, that's
hit
right.
the nail right on
So
the
there you go. So I think that's really, and I think there's going to be a commonality to that. Liz was talking to me.
Yeah.
And so I think that might be the main thing we talk about when we get back together is this, it's just this need, of course, social media is like the,
Right, yeah.
So I wanted to, you mentioned
Yeah.
that why aren't these groups working together? And I think that's a question that we don't know the answer to, but we should find out that answer, because it could be that they can't, which they can't.
It's 10.5.
But it could be,
Same resources.
it could be, but it also could be that they just are so busy working on their own thing that they don't know what the other one is doing. It's like right hand, left hand. And if somebody creates something for them to see, oh, well, those guys need that and we have that, well, we can give you that. And just a place to be able to connect all these organizations. And I don't know if something like that exists already, but that's something that could be created fairly easy to connect, nonprofit A with nonprofit B, and they have resources that they can share and swap.
and that can be interconnected with the short term, the long term, medium term, all that stuff. It's coordinated because when it's not, it's very hard to take it from
It would
A all the
surprise
way
me
to
if-
Z.
It would surprise me if it is coordinated.
And, the ideas that I put out.